Hey,
Hey, what's going on?
what's up, bro?
So I just told you I'm ready. I'm ready for you to record, but I'll be blind by this
I
lighting.
know. Where's that light coming from? There's
It's
light
coming.
shining down on you.
It's right in my face. It's right in my face. So
Is it a lamp or is it
it's a
just
lamp. It's a lamp. It's not
Oh, okay.
it's not like a studio thing.
Yeah, you got that homemade
I got the
light.
homemade podcaster set up. But it's not even the ring. It's not even okay, but here's the good news. Here's the good news. I have to tell you this. We had two things happen over the last since we last recorded. I don't even know.
It's been like a little over a month. It was yeah.
At a good pace. Good pace.
Yeah.
So okay. We had somebody come in and finally found a contractor to do our kitchen. And before that, we finally found a contractor to do electrical because we just couldn't find anybody out here, anybody we kind of prefer to use. So this former closet, which looks very much like a closet because there ain't nothing behind me.
Right. It just looks like a white wall.
Yeah, it is. It's because it was a walk-in closet once. And actually before that, it was a storage room.
Oh.
So we used to have like file cabinets and stuff in here. But
Oh.
this room is so cozy though. It's like it's a studio, right? So it's like studio size. But finally the electrician came in here and dropped the outlets. And that was like a big deal because before that I was running extension cords from other rooms.
Yeah. Oh man, that extension cord life.
Yeah, extension cord life. And Shetta didn't like it. She didn't like it at all. She
told me I don't like that either. Man, they just be everywhere. You be tripping on them.
Yeah, and then she'd be trying to vacuum. She said that they were like collecting dog hair. And they were shaggy. So the electrician came in and finally dropped outlets. Every wall has an outlet, and this is like amazing.
Yeah.
So I was able to plug in my chair and computers and all kinds of things. And you can't see it here because it's kind of cozy. I can't turn anything without knocking over a tissue box or something.
Right.
Yeah. But anyway, that was it. That was the main thing. We had.
Oh, okay. No, that's what's up, man. It's good to see you.
Now has a little window in it. So you've seen the footage of our kitchen. It's no longer orange. The way it came. And now when you walk in, instead of having to walk into the doorway, you actually have kind of a window bar type area. It's not a bar because we're not rolling in cash. It's a window with a ledge that lets you look into the kitchen. But it's cool.
Yeah. Cool. No, those are nice. I like those.
So it gives us a little kind of restaurant view.
Yeah.
Because we sit in the kitchen, and if we turn off the lights in the kitchen, we can now have the lights in the hall. And so we want some plants so that we can sit at the kitchen table, look through the window, and look at the washing machine room to the upstairs with some plants on the wall at least, and then Shanna's painting and stuff like that. So it's actually fun, man. It's like coming along.
Nice. There's something I can't hear you very well. Like,
I'm sorry. Let me. Maybe you're hearing the microphone on my head.
There it is. Okay.
Yeah. Sorry about that.
It's like up there. I was like, is it not working or?
No, it's not worth it either. No, it's. I was talking through my head.
Okay.
Lowering the mic.
Cool.
Now the mic's down.
Now the mic's down. Okay. Now the people can hear you well. It sounded like you were just really far away. I was like, but it's supposed to be a small room that you're in. Like,
that was my sound effects.
Yeah, you had that filter going.
Yeah, exactly. So what's been going on, man? It's been a while since we kind of caught up in creative stuff.
Yeah, creative stuff. Lots going on there, man. Lots going on. Last month was kind of interesting because I feel like I actually gained more Twitter followers, like gained more people finding my stuff, but I lost a lot of people. I shed a lot of people at the beginning of the year, and I'm not sure why. I mean, some people are talking about the algorithm, how it's changed, and that's true. It has changed, but I was really posting the same stuff, podcast, audio drama, the standard stuff that I post. but I was losing people. And so that was a little discouraging because I was like, I don't have a lot of followers, and I'm definitely going for a more quality over quantity approach. Like I'd rather have like one person that's really hyped about my stuff, or at least is excited about what I'm doing, rather than just somebody who just casually follows me.
Yeah, yeah. Well, you know what? Well, the first thing that comes to mind when you tell me that is I know you posted those videos on OpenAI, and you know, and that's the thing with accidentally appealing to a market, you know.
Oh, right, yeah, so, and that was definitely, and that stuff definitely faded away, and like I knew it would. But I mean, I feel like I definitely made the right move. I doubled down. I posted more stuff on my YouTube, and my YouTube has stayed relatively stable. But you're definitely right. Being known for the random viral post, the wrong thing.
Yeah, you know, and maybe we can get right into some of the stuff we normally talk about. Like, okay, so you're creative out there, you hit a home run. Oh, bro. Okay. I'm not gonna digress. I'll get to the home run thing later. But anyway, it's not so much that it's a fluke. It's just that there are things that you do your creation for. And then, you know, it kind of cross-pollinates. Maybe you work with some medium that is really popular somewhere else.
Right.
And you'll temporarily get those people interested in your stuff. But maybe they're not so much interested in your stuff. And I'm not saying this to you. I'm saying this to anybody. And they realize, oh, this channel is not for that. So I'm going to go do my thing. Because my YouTube, it's kind of a hodgepodge. It's either astrology or not. Those are the two things I put up there. But I also put some statistics things on there. And, you know, I think the most viewed video on my channel is like on multivariate statistics.
That's right.
It's the canonical correlation with the football on it. And it's not NIME. It's not astrology.
Yeah.
And, you know, obviously the people who have come there for hardcore math have not come there for space rocks.
Exactly.
Controlling life, you know?
Yeah.
And so, mean, sometimes you put something up there and then you make a statement about something and then go away. So it's good. I feel like it's just good to be kind of I'm not saying self-possessed, but I mean, you know.
For sure. Absolutely. Yes. And I think you're right, man. I think people get this fickle thing, you know, they like one thing on your channel, and you know, I'm putting the scope of my creativity out there, especially on my Twitter, and more so on my YouTube. It's starting to kind of open up into, in general, the things that I'm creating, the things that I'm passionate about. And somebody likes a random thing like my ChatGPT video. They loved that. But then I don't talk about ChatGPT. There's been so many developments with that thing, and you probably saw the news about Microsoft integrating it with Bing. Did you hear about that?
I did not. I saw like a line somewhere in a search.
Yeah, that was just last.
I mean, you know me in technology. I'm just like, whatever.
I just used it as an example.
They're always doing something.
Oh yeah. Oh man, and I could talk a lot about AI stuff, but I won't just make it all about AI. But the point is, I don't talk about that stuff all the time.
Yeah.
So I like the freedom to talk about music, or talk about my sci-fi podcast, or talk about writing, I just posted something about my public memoir, Intro Cartography. I posted something. I haven't posted on it. I haven't been posting on it much, but I just posted on something just this morning. So it's basically that whole person concept. And when somebody sees you in one instance, in one video, or in one post, it's like, okay, all of a sudden you become that guy or that girl, you know, that talks about this one thing. It's like, wait a minute, I like all these other things too, but most people don't stick around for that. And it's this idea of being, I like the way a friend online puts it. He talks about being nicheless. You know, having no niche, like your niche is you know, and that's the hard part, because people don't really know. When you talk about all these different things, like you said, you talk about the astrology, and then you're talking about multivariate stuff, and you're talking about NIME. those are very specific subsets of all of people that like those three distinct different things, and one is probably not going to like the other, at least not as much.
Yeah.
And so I don't think my thing is that I don't think you should correct for that, especially after.
Yeah.
I think you have to put out the stuff, like you said, that
because you'll go every which way. And I guess if you want to be like an actor, you want to be in an industry where it's like you're as good as your latest hit. And look, nothing against that. There are people who
some people
they will
love the super specialist.
Follow the wins, man, and that's
for sure.
Their whole industries and businesses
and everything.
That's what they do. I'm not. That's not my kind of thing.
Yeah,
I don't know if that's your kind of thing, and you need a mentality for that, and be ready to put it down, like put down what you're doing, and make a new hit in this genre.
Right, and trend chasing, man, there's definitely a market for that. I mean, there's definitely something to be said about being first. People like stuff that's fast, especially nowadays. Being first to be on top of anything. You see this, just 2 days ago. I don't know if you saw the Nintendo Direct. So Nintendo had a Nintendo Direct. They basically showed a new trailer for Legend of Zelda, Tears of the Kingdom, among other games.
Yeah.
And you have these YouTube channels, these people that are like, here's my breakdown of the latest trailer, and then boom, it comes out like an hour after the Nintendo Direct happens.
Yeah.
There's something to be said about that. That's valuable because hey, they're the first people to have it up. And I kind of benefited from that with the Chat GPT. I wasn't planning on being first or one of the first people to talk about it and talk about how you could use it, but I was. It just happened I was in that time frame. But I mean, you have to do your own thing at the end of the day, man. And I just read, have you heard of Rick Rubin's recent book?
No.
Do you know who Rick Rubin is?
No, I don't. Bro.
Honestly, I didn't know who this cat was either. But it turns out he is a freaking prolific music producer.
Oh, okay.
And he's been producing music for decades. And
I may have heard his name somewhere.
Yeah, he's been one of the forces behind some of the most famous albums. Kanye West, Adele. Jay-Z, he's worked with them. I mean, and then Linkin Park, he worked with them. Yeah. Like, he's been in the game for decades. So he wrote this book called The Creative Act, A Way of Being. And it just came out last month in January. This is February 2023. It came out January 2023. And it's a pretty amazing book. And you would expect that somebody with this amount of experience in the music industry, being with all these famous artists, you would expect a book about him name dropping. And I was in the studio with Kanye West and this is how we recorded Yeezus or something like that. You would expect something like that, but it wasn't. It was this very Zen Taoist, like a lot of people are comparing it to the Tao Te Ching.
Oh, very neat.
You might be actually interested in it. But it's written in this way to talk about creativity as the act itself. He barely, and I read somebody's review on it yesterday. He barely even talks about, like, gives even specific advice about what he does. He does dive into his process, but it's not very prescriptive. It's not one of these books like, okay, here's how I helped produce Adele's hit 21 record, which he did. He helped produce that.
Yeah.
One of the most popular records in the last decades, right? He was responsible for that, but it wasn't him going into that process. It was him taking a step back. He's hardly in the book at all.
Yeah,
basically.
Interesting.
It's a bunch of ideas about creativity, about how getting the most out of your own, following your own path, creating for yourself first, and audience last.
Man, I'm telling you, like, as you know, I'm Taoist Buddhist, right?
Yes.
And there's something to, and been that way for a long time, since 2009, right? So it's been about 14 years so far. Yeah. And man, there is something about taking yourself out of what you're doing and kind of saying this is the whole experience. I mean, and you don't even think of yourself as embodying. You don't even think of that. No. You're doing it, and you're like, this is the next step. This is the next step. These feel like these match. Okay, let's put this here. And it's really, it's like play, actually, when you're you're younger. You're not saying, I, the little boy, little girl, must make this character do this for ego's sake. You don't have all that built up by that time. You know, the sense of embarrassment and necessity and all that other stuff. You're just playing. You're just like, oh, this person goes over here. Why? Just because.
And it's all instinct. And he talks about that, man. He talks about play. He talks about you as a vessel for creativity, connecting to the source of everything. You know, and this is right now that I'm talking about it, this is right up your alley. He talks about this, basically getting inspiration from dreams, getting inspiration from other people, from nature, from stuff that you consume. And I was in the review that I read yesterday, and it wasn't really review. I hate it when people say book review. It's such a, because it was just more of his ideas on the book, and book review is not the right word for it, but that's what he called it anyway. But anyway, he was basically saying that Rubin did, and part of his promotion for the book, he did an interview with Anderson Cooper. And he has an excerpt from that interview, and Anderson Cooper is asking questions. So he's like, do you play an instrument? No, Rubin says. Do you know how to work a soundboard? No, not really. To mix and master music? No, not really. What do you do? What do you get paid for? And this is what Rubin says. He says, and I'm paraphrasing, of course, but he basically says, I know my taste, and I know what I like, and I know what I don't like. And I'm very religious, discerning, insert your intense adjective there, about what I like and then what I don't like. So he's a taste cultivator. He has cultivated his taste.
See, man, I love that. I love that title. I love that title.
I just made it up, but
I know. But I love the title though. I mean, because it gets at. It's just like a fitting.
Yeah.
It's like a job in a video game. It's like, this is for a taste cultivate. Could you imagine having your job in a video game? You're a taste cultivator. What does that do?
What do you do here?
The monsters, the ones that have a lot of money tend to show up when I need money. The ones that have a lot of XP have.
I
have a way of highlighting the right weapon, the right location on the map, and all the points there. And we don't think of jobs or talents in that way. And I like how you just had a phrase to describe what it is, because it gets us out of the box. And it gets us to kind of flow in with what the individual's creativity actually is.
Exactly.
So that's pretty cool.
That's the thing. You can't be prescriptive about it. And then the guy's review that he was basically like, yeah, the book is actually kind of frustratingly plain, in that when you read it, you're like, here's this famous music producer, and I'm learning about creativity.
And you're looking for
what his process is. I want the no-fail solution to not be Rick Rubin, but get Rick Rubin results.
But you know this. People want. But you know this as a creator. I know this. Yeah. You can't tell people that. Okay, step 1, be Keith. Step 2, be Keith and do this.
You've already failed,
3,
right?
You know what I'm saying, bro?
No, but it's so true. And so many self-help books.
They are want the 10 steps, the 12.
Basically, do my 10 steps. Oh, but by the way, you need to have been me in my circumstances, with my network and my motivation and my upbringing and background and education. And the 12 steps just don't fly.
Well, one thing that I have a lot of pride in now that I'm 43, right? So I go, and if you give me 10 steps and step 4 is looking weird, I'll figure something out. It's kind of like step 4.
Right.
And then see if I can do step 5. And I'm telling you, younger versions of me would have really been bothered by that.
Yeah.
But I mean,
the formula.
Yeah, you want the formula. But at the same time, man, I didn't if I were able to mimic this person's formula exactly, I'd probably be that person in some way. And there, you just need to be ready to say, okay, look, this is the best. Yo, Shanna is like a killer cook. She's a killer. She doesn't even like cooking. She says it every time she cooks. She's like, I hate this stuff.
That's funny.
What are these steps? Well, it's an experiment. She calls everything she makes an experiment. The food is freaking delicious every time. Every time. Like I'm a microwave person myself. She's been making up things. You give her 20 steps. She might follow 7 of them, but then she just knows. Right. And I thought we were going to be equal in terms of who cooked what, who microwaved what. But she took over the cooking because my cooking is it's just inferior, bro.
Yeah.
Like I can't.
I mean, that's part of us, man. And I hear you because I'm the same way. Like Joanna's the exact same way, by the way, when it comes to cooking. She's just like, oh, it says do this, but I'm just gonna do this, and then it's like delicious, but
it's great. And then it's not, and just for anybody out there, it's not a chauvinist thing. We never divided the roles. It was simply a matter of Ajani sucks. Get out of the kitchen, get out of here.
And if we weren't in the circumstance that we're in, to where she's working so much and she just literally doesn't have time to cook, so I cook more, then she would probably be cooking because it's just better. It's better for both of us.
Yeah. But the thing is, like, she doesn't follow the steps. There's an intuition about that. And she has no qualms. She'll get irritated. You tell her step 5 must be followed by step 6.
Yeah.
She just won't like that idea.
You've
like, who are you to tell me this? We don't even have that kind of pot.
You've got to find your own way. And I like going back to Rubin. I like the whole cultivating your taste. And that's not the first time I've read that or heard that advice of a previous guy that I still follow on Twitter. He's always talking about you've got to refine your taste. You've got to refine your taste. And when I hear that, it sounds kind of a little woo-woo initially. You're like, what does that mean?
Yeah.
But it's pretty simple. And if you're listening to this now, this is what I mean when I say refine your taste, right? Become a taste cultivator for your stuff. Basically, what do you like? Start there. What's the movies that you like? What's the books that you read? What's the YouTube channel? Whatever your thing that you consume is. What do you like? Then you take it a step further. Why do you like it? Why do you think it's good? And it doesn't have to conform to, well, it's this many ratings on IMDb or Rotten Tomatoes. Maybe you do like I got a close friend. He will not watch movies that are rated lower than like 80% on Rotten Tomatoes. He's just one of those guys. Like, he does not want to waste time watching movies that have been declared to be inferior by a large majority of people. That's him.
All right.
I don't particularly subscribe to that because I'm like, somebody's shitty movie may be the best movie to me, just as a high school student said yesterday. This is a quick aside. Conversation I had in a high school physics class yesterday. Hey, Mr. Hayden, are you going to watch Cocaine Bear? I said, excuse me, what's that? He said, it's a movie about a bear that eats cocaine and he goes crazy. I said, Is that really a movie? Apparently it is.
Okay. All right.
I haven't looked it up at all, but some of you are probably laughing.
All right.
And so I was like, no, I will not be seeing Cocaine Bear. I did not. And at first I was thinking like, oh, it's a teddy bear. But she's like, no, it's an actual bear. She said, but the actual bear died in real life. I was like, well, that would make sense. If a bear ate cocaine, I don't think that's meant for the bear. It's such a silly premise for a movie. And then at the end of the class, I hear another kid goes, and this is the quote I was bringing up, why I brought this anecdote up. He said, those crappy movies just hit different. They just hit. He said, when you go in, and then I laughed and said, yeah. He said, yeah, when you go and see a bad movie with like a bunch of friends and stuff, it's fun. It turns the bad movie into, because you all know it's bad. You're not expecting it to be.
Turns it into Mystery Science Theater, man.
It turns it into an experience, right? Mystery Science Theater, right?
Yeah.
And anyway, bringing it back to cultivating taste. Your bad movie may be someone's good movie.
That's true.
And so you've got to ask yourself why you like what you like. And then to take it even a step further, then you start making lists of things. And you say, I like this movie. I like He-Man Masters of the Universe. Why? Because what's his name? Skeletor. Frank Langella, right? Yeah. Was that the name of the actor? I probably got it wrong.
No, that was correct. Skeletor.
Oh, that was correct. Yeah.
And that is because Skeletor delivers the best villain monologue.
He's a poet.
Everywhere. I like any other. If you want to see villains go off, look up 1988 or something. He-Man Master 88, yeah. And just listen, or just Gold Skeletor. He becomes Skeletor.
Right.
Skeletor becomes a god.
Just YouTube that. Just YouTube it, and watch
Skeletor go off. And that's a family favorite. We all like that.
Right. And so, and it's funny because I showed that movie to my wife and she thought it was so cheesy and just so, and it is like, when you look at it now, you know,
I'm never new to you.
Yes, you will. Yes, you will. I shall wreak unforgettable harm upon you. I mean, who says this in a movie about action power? Yes. Kneel before your master.
Best believe, I think we all know the whole.
I'm pretty sure I could probably recite it. It is freaking amazing. But the point is, even something like that.
But that's considered a B movie.
Yes, it's considered a B movie. It's a movie about a cartoon show in the 80s and action figures, and it has this amazing acting performance. So then you take that and you say, how do you extend that to other things? When you take that, like we like that kind of monologue that he says. There's monologues like that in other works that we would probably like. So you say that it's not just about He-Man Masters of the Universe, this particular movie, even though that's the vessel for that creative act and that thing. It's this component of the creative work that I really like. That's the reason why we like it, why we remember it, because of this performance. And this is the thing. This is an intuitive thing, right? Because flashback to when this movie was out, when we were kids watching it, we didn't know anything about monologues and whatever, all this the technical stuff. You just know you are attracted to it.
Exactly.
You like it for some reason.
Dude's going off. He has no shame whatsoever.
Dude's going off. He's all gold. He's got electricity over his face.
He's all in the wrong.
He looks badass. He's the bad guy, but you're like, you're so freaking cool. I like you. I want to buy the action figure. Mom, can you get it for me?
Yeah.
And so it's kind of this, and this is what Rubin talks about in the book. This is his, and it's very woo. Like if you're, and whatever you call it, if you call it God, if you call it Allah, if you call it Source or Mother Earth or the universe, whatever, it's this thing that is way bigger than you and your limited human capacity to absorb stuff. And I think we overestimate what we can take in all the time because there's a lot of stuff happening around us that we're not aware of. And
I have so if people want a list, I think you just gave them the list. I think that's what needs to be done.
Yeah, right? That's pretty much. I mean, I just made it up. I'd never written this down, but
and I mean, because I'm not really like big on following structure and stuff.
Yeah.
So for me, it's kind of like I'm doing it. I like this. This is nice. I'm trying this. This bothers me. I don't know if I can stand for this. I'm gonna change it. Oh, okay, now it's closer to what I like. Rinse and repeat. And then, after a while, fast forward months or weeks or years or whatever, you're like, look, I don't mess with it if it looks like that. Right. You know what I'm saying?
Right. And everybody has in the specific ways you're going to get there. Like you do it a little bit differently than I do it. I have a little bit more structured approach, but actually I don't really. I'm just giving it structure.
You can talking
about it on a podcast, but yeah, I really
pretty much follow the same kind.
I pretty much follow the same, and that's the thing. Everybody does. You just don't realize it.
Yeah.
There's certain things that catch your eye that you should probably find. I've found myself recently, if I'm cultivating my taste, right, stopping, and not just stopping and like looking at something that I like, but saying, why did I look at that? Like, why did this catch me? And then you can start to, and you don't have to do it every time, and you're not going to sit there and, start, okay, this is why it struck me. Duh. You start writing this and doing this. You don't have to do all that. It's just more of recognizing that you like something. Why do you like it? What is it specifically that you liked about it? And then gathering those up, not just letting it pass you by and saying, man, that was a really cool movie that I watched last year.
You know what? Okay, so why, this kind of is a good segue into this other thing that happened. Okay, so recently, so Shannon and I have kind of a routine, family night. We me and her and the dogs, we sit on the couch and we watch murder mysteries, British murder mysteries, mind you. That's a new thing. I'm interesting, kind of getting into it, but in the course of that, I kind of forgot about my old routine for creativity, which was Silent Sunday Night, because I don't have TCM. I don't have TCM out here. Right. So this past weekend, we both been sick. I mean, I'm just feeling better today. But like, I don't know if it's a cold or whatever. We were feeling like junk, both of us. Yeah. But this past weekend on Sunday, I was like, okay, let me see if I can watch a Silent Sunday movie. Well, I know it's not. So I went on to the Roku and I found this film, Faces of Death from 1978. I never heard of this film. But if you never heard of it, it's images of They said it's images of gruesome deaths from all over the world. I was like, am I watching a snuff film or whatever? It can't be because it's here on Roku. So I'm like, I feel a little guilty because I feel like I'm about to watch something depraved. I know nothing about it. And this isn't really my kind of thing. At the very beginning, this guy, he's a pathologist, 1978. He's like, I'm Dr. I forget his name. I'm a pathologist. I was fascinated by death. I started with this dream. I feel like you're going to watch this movie and it's going to change. It's going to change how you see things. And I was like, okay, I don't know if I'm going to stay with this. In the very beginning, they have like a beating heart. And if you can't handle that, you can't handle the movie. But anyways, the movie goes on. I end up staying with it, finishing it. He shows images of death in nature, like the spider killing the thing and the anaconda killing the fish and the man dies from the thing. And I mean, like human deaths. And,
of course.
There's a beheading in there. And it's like the actual beheading, though. It's like some tourist caught it on film. Person lays down, sword hits, head falls. Real life happened. Yeah. So anyways, I get done with this movie and I'm surprised that I made it through. 2 nights in a row, I had these really deep, complicated and message dreams, like existential grade. I had not had this for months because I had gotten off of my own kind of inspirational routine. And it was funny because these dreams were like, they took like 5 minutes and it was simple acts. But when I woke up, I felt like they had explained to me chemistry, like like evolution and stuff. And I recorded on it. It was like the act of walking across the street and making a U-turn and going to a school, appearing with a Whataburger in hand and then leaving was actually the act of synaptic transfer and how it's a gradient, like gradient guidance for neurons and things like that. Chemicals seek their targets inside of cells. They do their work and they leave. Right. And that's the really, really, really short version of what ended up being like a 2-hour philosophical thing.
Wow.
Okay. I'm not going to bore you with all the details and stuff, but the bottom line is that this was a form of inspiration, which I knew about a long time ago. I've been doing it for years. Right. And it's part of, what I put into my book. Alma mater. That was, the spiritual, the psychic one. So like, I think to be able to not forget those routines, also that adds an intuition through sleep and kind of the non-rational side of the brain, which, kind of piques your fascination. So it was nice to kind of reunite with that. Very cool experience.
No, I'm glad to hear that too, because I think one of the challenges for me, because after I read the book, I was actually inspired to pay more attention to when I naturally connect to the source and get ideas for stuff. So I actually, your style, I jotted down, I had a few dreams, and I typically don't like remember my dreams very well. I'd be waking up amnesia and shit. Like, was I even asleep? What happened? Waking up. Like somebody bopped me over the head and woke me up. Yeah. But I actually took notes on a few dreams that I had, and I'm typically pretty poor at that because I'm a morning person. Like, I'm one of those guys, as soon as I get up, it doesn't take me any time at all to fire up. As soon as I open my eyes, within like maybe 5 minutes, but surely by the time I'm out of my bed and like in the light of my space, I'm ready to work. So I don't have like this warm up time, but actually this entire year I've been doing meditation, trying to do it every morning. Mostly I've been actually pretty successful. I've only missed maybe like 3 or 4 times this entire year.
Cool.
And I just do it for 5 to 15 minutes. And I don't do guided meditations or anything like that. To my surprise, I just sit down and just start doing deep breathing. And I don't pull out no mat. I don't have no music. I don't have no candles or incense or none of that shit. I just sit down.
I'm gonna put in a little advertisement for people who are getting on the other side of their 30s and getting older. It's very nice when you develop these practices by accident.
Because
you don't want to deteriorate. You know what I'm saying?
And for me, for what it's doing for me is mainly because I've had a few sessions where you get the super insightful, but I'll be honest, most of the time it's not super insightful. Most of the time it's just like I'm pretty tired, or there's something on my mind or whatever that's kind of dominating the space, dominating the time. But it gives me space in between, instead of, because I'm one of those guys that I have a pretty rigid routine that I follow daily. And once I hit go on the routine machine, it doesn't stop until the day's over, pretty much. So that can be every day for me. So the meditation is just giving me that intentional space to open up, just for rest, for reflection, for all of the above. So where it's not like, okay, just A, B, C, D, E going throughout my routine. It just gives me some space.
I've actually picked up my most watched DVD. Yes, it's a DVD. My most watched DVD ever, which is Ballet. It's the Ballet DVD.
Oh, right.
Yeah. And that is usually my form of exercise. We have the weight machines and things like that. Yeah. And for me, it's kind of like a balance and it's a control thing. Right. And the lady, I mean, like 2013 DVD. And I've been doing that. And thank God the dogs behave themselves. They can actually go on the couch. We have a third dog. She doesn't respond well to like gestures. So she can't really handle it when I'm doing this. I lift my arm in the air and stuff, and she starts barking. She doesn't like that. Like, what's your arm? What are you reaching for? What's up there?
What's wrong with your arm?
Exactly.
Put it down.
But the boys, they're good. They grumble a little bit. They're like, what's he doing? Because they're all very skittish and they don't like sudden moves. I mean, if you hold your arm like this, they think something's happening, But anyways. So I've been doing ballet for a little while, and I picked it back up. Yeah, just the ballet exercises and stretches and things like that. But yesterday, because I was feeling like garbage, but I was feeling a little bit better, I said, let me put out my yoga DVD. And the dude who does that one, and somewhere in the middle of the yoga DVD, I was saying to myself, this is important. And it was weird. It was important in like a spiritual way, because having seen Faces of Death, you're like, one day I'm going to die, and which of these things that I do is actually going to be important? Like, I'll be on my deathbed, like, it really wasn't worth it, right? but then some of them were, and I was doing the yoga stretches and stuff, and at some point we did Warrior One. He's like, okay, get into Warrior One. I'm like, man, it's uncomfortable, but I mean, it's uncomfortable to hold. It's easy to get into. And then he's like, yeah, but stay there though. No, still stay there though.
Yeah.
He's like, man, I don't want to stay. But I was breathing and stuff, and I said, I mean, when I'm done, I'm glad that there was time to do
Give
this,
yourself the space
to just put everything that is like, over your shoulder, hanging over your head,
right?
Just like, and give yourself the time to say, wait, me being stable, me having my moments of attunement to nothing. Maybe it's just following the dude on the DVD telling you to put your fingers in the air and stretch till your bones hurt. But that kind of time is like, man, that's valuable. And just being able to set it aside, I'm glad I did it. It had
and I think, I mean, and this, I guess the book's going throughout this this entire episode, but he talks about this as well. Basically, your productive time, your best creative time may not be sitting in front of your computer or on your phone or on a conference call or doing these things we normally associate with getting things done or business or work. Your productive time may be doing yoga. Yeah. It may be sitting down to read that book, that fiction book that's been gathering dust on yourself, or it may be watching a show that you really like. It just depends in the mindset that it puts you in.
Yeah, you're right. Okay, so I got a question for you. It's a fascinating question because I got answers in my head, but they're surprising. It's on productive time. Like if somebody asked me and they said, Ajani, when are you at your most productive? I said, okay, one. And it's different kinds. One, when I'm translating my asteroids, I'm ripping through it. I'm really good. And I know it. Right. So I'm almost halfway, bro.
Nonstop.
21,000 asteroids to do. And so far I've done 10,400. I still got like a year left. Impressive. And so when I release the Book of Contours or Laurentia second edition, when I do it, Laurentia 1 was like, here's 1,000 asteroid translations. Laurentia edition 2 is going to be like, here's 21,000 asteroids, all by hand, one at a time, humanistic interpretations. Chat GPT can come kind of close, but when the asteroid of divorce comes up, Chat GPT don't know nothing to say to you, right? So I'm translating them all by hand, and I'm ripping through it, productive on my computer.
Right.
I was surprised, though, a second ago when I thought about it, and I said, the times I have to drive 30 miles to go to Walmart, because our town doesn't have one, just for grocery shopping, I have to zen out or like get stoic on it, just go do it. Or when I have to drive to Savannah, right, for things, go to the airport, and I just have to, there's a certain mode where it's just like, and it gets done. That's a form of productiveness.
It is, absolutely.
It's a discipline, and you don't whine, you don't cry, you don't get distracted, and you're focused.
Exactly.
And I guess the other one is a certain kind of like, it's like a research task, a deliverable task. I'm playing a game on the Nintendo Switch. Has little mini games where you have to hit the squares. You have to hit them in order and stuff like that. Bro, I'm so focused. I don't miss. I'm not a good shot. I'm not good at aim. I get all unsteady. If it damages another person. But if it's a game and they're like, do it this way, do it faster, quick, I'm like, boom, 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 and just like strategy stuff like that. And those three are kind of my top modes of productivity, but they're not what I would have thought. In terms of
surprising,
things, right? Because the things that kind of the world associates with your job or your management of some kind of affairs. I didn't expect that. So I asked you, where do you feel like you're at your most productive?
Like I said, number one is definitely first thing in the morning. I know that, like this year, I've been trying to make it a point to do three things every work day. Every day I designate as a day I'm going to do work. It's write, it's do Japanese, and it's work on the podcast, work on Sirius and Limnic, the sci-fi podcast, in some capacity, whatever I need to do for it. So I know the first one of those three things that I do is going to get done the best, and I'm probably going to spend the most time with it. And so there's this coveted spot with me that if it's right at the first thing in the morning, And people are always surprised too. They'll get on like a call with me. I've talked to several people this year. By the way, I've probably talked to a new person at least once a week this year. It's pretty interesting how that's working out. But they'll be so surprised. They'll be like, "What time is it over there?" I'm like, "Oh, it's 5:30 a.m." And they're like, "Oh, I'm so sorry that," because I'm over here in Japan and they're in the States. So just like it was 7 a.m. when we started talking, or when we should have started talking today. So it's always early in the morning. But I'm totally fine with that. I'm at my best right first thing in the morning. So that's one of my most productive times. The next one is, I say, when I'm in the middle of pretty much any task, but I have to be in the middle of it. So when I'm writing, when I'm in the middle, like I have to get past that first like 10 or 15 minutes where you're just like, okay, what do I need to do? Or once I get a vector on what I need to get done, then until an alarm goes off or until some other external thing pulls me away, I'm in the zone. It's hard to get me knocked off. And usually I'm the one that calls it quits. I set an alarm, or I'm really a fan of these Pomodoro 25-minute sprints. I've been doing this for the past like 3 to 4 months, and it's just enough time to where you get into the zone, but then you don't sit too long to where you're like, oh man, this is too long, or you start getting bored, or your attention starts fading away, or you get hungry or whatever. So it's just long enough to get you in, but then you chain a bunch of these together, and then I get a lot done that way. So those are my main ones, man. But you're right. I think that's the moral of the story of what we're talking about, is productivity may not come in the form that you think. It may not be in the societal expectation ways of you're using a productivity device like Notion, or you're in your Google Calendar, or your emails or whatever. A lot of people associate productivity with these types of things. And for a lot of people, that doesn't cut it. For some people, they work great, but for other people, they stress them out. They
and I guess it's
by emails.
The difference between activity and productivity, right?
Exactly.
I think a lot of people think that just because they're doing a lot of activity,
I'm doing stuff, I'm busy,
they're being
I'm busy.
productive. And what I would ask is that, okay, you're doing a lot of activity. Did you get accomplished the things that are of you that you want? And some people will still say, yes, I cleared my email box, and that is of me, because it gets on my nerves if it's not clear. But then maybe other people will say, yeah, you know what, I did spend a lot of time in the email, but I really want to write or paint or get a promotion, or just be a better whatever. For sure. I feel like maybe I went down a rabbit hole.
I do that daily, man. And I do this to a fault, and I've tried to stop doing this, which is I mentioned those 3 things that I try and do, my 3 basic objectives for the day. And if something else pulls me away from that, or I end up going down a rabbit hole, or I get stuck on some administrivia or something, like I have to clean something, I have to do taxes or some type of thing that I don't normally do, but I just have to get it done. If I get stuck on that, then I'll be like, I didn't get anything done because I didn't get to the things that I set as the goal for myself. I did other stuff that, okay, it was important to somebody else. I made the calls, I cleaned this up, I paid the bill or whatever. You do the things that you have to do, but then the things that I set aside for myself to do, I did not do. So I messed up. And I'm trying to get better with that, about not like coming down so hard on myself, because I realize, those other things too, you just have to do them sometimes. They come up. That's the way life goes. But at the same time, it's not a waste of time. And you can make those tasks desirable as well. You just have to put a lot more effort into making something you don't want to do fun, But, and I like this discussion, man. I think it's not something that I thought about at all, honestly, before last year, before I read it. And, man, I always want to say his name wrong, but VirtuousCon Verasimi. He's the guy that I follow on Twitter, that I read his book Introspect, and he talks about cultivating your taste. And when I read it, I was like, it was a huge unlock, but it was kind of one of those duh moments, you know? And if you read The Creative Act, Rick Rubin's book that we've been talking about this entire time, you'll have a lot of those moments where it's like, one of them, he says, go on a walk. Well, duh, going on a walk, it seems so simple. And so like, why do you need to hear this from a prolific music producer? But the way it's packaged, the way it comes in, the way he writes it, it just comes off as, maybe going on a walk would be something different to, going on a walk and actually observing things and actually like taking it in, not just rushing around the block to say you went on a walk.
Yeah.
Actually doing things with intention to get something out of it, to actually plug in, to stop and actually listen to God, the source, whatever you call it, the universe, to listen to that and listen to how he basically says you are the filter through it. Everything's always coming in, but you're going to filter it through your background, your experience, your skills, your goals, your aspirations. Everybody's filter is different. It's attuned to that person, and it's based on all of the above that I just said. So it's up to you to decide what goes into the filter and then how it comes back out in creative expression. And that could be anything. Could be singing, could be dancing, could be writing, whatever you do. And I'll start to wrap up, but I just want to say I meant to do I've been doing kind of these book thoughts after I finish a book. We were traveling, so I didn't have time to do the whole book thoughts thing, but I zeroed in on something that he said about business and creativity, because he basically talked about how he's obviously worked with megastars who, after they produce a big hit like 21, Adele, now the next hit, there's so much pressure to produce something of similar quality and to a similar fan base as well, because you've already pleased this group of people and they love what you made, but artistically you're feeling drawn to go somewhere else. So what should you do? Should you repeat what hit the first time, or should you follow the other path and explore your creativity? And of course, in typical Rubin fashion of the book, he gives no answers. His basic response is that the other path could be more interesting creatively, but then you have to reconcile that with, why do you want to reproduce what you already produced? He's not saying that's wrong. He's basically saying there's a lot of pressure, external pressure on your creativity that comes from following agents and the market and stuff that generates a profit. Business. He basically says business can compromise creative capacity. It can compromise greatness. A lot of times he's like, the best stuff doesn't come from industry aimed stuff that was made for this particular industry. And of course his scope is music, but it could be any industry. It could be a book or whatever. It could be software. You made this particular software. Now you made this particular video game. Now people want you to follow it up. This happens all the time in video games. Like people don't want too many deviations from certain formulas, depending on whatever genre it is. But then they also want something a little bit different. How much different should you go? Some games go completely different, and it's like, this feels like a completely different series. I don't want to play this shit anymore. I can't think of any examples. There's a great one, man. I couldn't think of anything on the top of my head because I wasn't thinking video games, but
the originals.
If you're of a certain age, you probably remember the original Toe Jam and Earl on the Sega Genesis or Sega Master System, wherever you grew up, and it was the quintessential like bro kid game. Like simultaneous play was awesome. Exploration, randomness put in there. It had like everything.
It had everything. And then 2 was no good. And then
Toe Jam and Earl
was, it makes me sad to say, it was
It was like
I
ugly and
didn't.
no good.
I
It's
didn't
like
play the reboot,
oh
but
no,
yeah,
bro, don't play.
Toe Jam and Earl is so much a product of its time period. It's just got
It
all the hip
is.
hop tropes, and it's
Yeah,
just
yeah, yeah.
it is nostalgic.
I don't know what motivated them to go in the direction that they went for, but that was an example of something that it didn't capture, I guess, the creative essence of at least what I as a player expected. Maybe
Right.
the creators thought that Funkatron was like the next thing.
Yeah.
But for the players to unite and have fun walking a map
Yeah.
the way
I
they
know.
did it. And
Yeah.
I mean, I'm not trying to derail this and stuff, but I mean, the idea is that, yeah, man, the choice to go over here or stay over there. I don't know, man.
Exactly. There's
Yeah.
consequences for sure for getting it
Yeah.
wrong, and it goes back to Rubin's main advice, which is to create for yourself first, not for the audience or the market.
Yeah.
Because and he says what we all know intuitively, that you can't control what the outcome of what you put out. And you can try and make it be like, oh, well, here's all the trends going on right now, and I put all this into my game or into my song or whatever. But then you could completely miss. The trend may pass you by. There may be something. I read about the CEO of what was it? The CEO of GE, of General Electric. This particular CEO, he took over on September 10th, 2001.
Oh.
The day before 9/11. 9/11 hits. General Electric sadly lost 2 workers in 9/11. And their stock tanked, and it was just a disaster, right? That could be you. You could put out something with ChatGPT or something, and especially how fast trends change now. I'm on Twitter, and daily there's a new must try. There's a new, this app, this thing. It is madness to try. So people, and I feel bad for some of these people. They spend like months working on this product, and it's like, especially now with the technology kind of evolving so fast, your thing, like I look at stuff like Midjourney right now, and there's stuff that's coming out that is already out that is maybe not as good quality as Midjourney, but it does what it does faster and with more features and with more fine-tuned models. So this is just a current example of, it's super hard to keep up with the times and with the trends. You should probably not try and do that, because you probably miss and you might be disappointed. You might hit the jackpot, but it's rare that something comes out and it's like very timely and it sticks to the trend. Better to follow your own taste that you've cultivated through all the stuff that we talked about in this episode, and to put out something that speaks to your artistic ability. Take the risk of art, basically, is what I'm saying. Take the risk to make art that is you. And that's the piece that I wrote. I'll link it in the show notes. That's basically my book thoughts about the creative act, which is, and I talk about my own kind of struggle with balancing business and art. And so I'll leave it there. You can check it out and read it. It's not very long, but yeah, it's kind of my reflection, man. So
all right.
Just turned out I didn't expect to talk about the book the entire time, but
whatever.
Obviously,
that's where it went.
That's where it went. I recommend the book. I just, if you want kind of a different approach, it's definitely a different book than you're used to about creativity. If you've never read books on creativity, then you're in for a treat. But if you're one of those people who reads a lot of like self-help type books, then this one's probably going to be different than what you normally read. So you might want to check it out. Ajani, you got anything else? Man,
I don't.
It went by so fast.
It did, man. It was an hour already.
Yeah,
I guess so.
We just hit it. We went from Skeletor to creativity to sci-fi movies, man. You know how we do. This is two brothers talking, man. Okay, so I actually have a couple of announcements. So first thing is, I got a newsletter. It's called The Creative Futurist, and in my newsletter, I'm trying to help people be more creative through current technology. So my goal is to equip you with the skills to use the current technology to unlock your creativity. So I write about a bunch of different things on there. I explore different tools. I show you how to use different tools. I want to help you make it easier to use a lot of this stuff, because there is a lot and it can be super intimidating to, hey, just go Google this, and you have no idea what the hell to do. It's super hard, and I get that. But you feel like you have this thing inside of you. You want to write a song. You want to write a book or something like that. That's what the newsletter is aimed at. So if that's you, you're interested, and you're like, man, they've been talking about this. I'm super inspired to, after listening to this episode, to go and dream and wake up and record it. Then
inspired to take a walk.
Inspired to go take a walk, right? Inspired to leave your desk, whatever. Then go ahead, and I'll put the link to the Creative Futurist in the show notes. Also, at the end of this month, I am returning to the premier Black Indie Sci-Fi event. And if you don't know what I'm talking about, I'm talking about VirtuousCon 2023. Okay, y'all, here's what this thing is. Virtuous. Is that how they say it? VirtuousCon.
VirtuousCon.
VirtuousCon 2023. And in VirtuousCon, basically, it's a bunch of Black sci-fi writers and creators and comic creators that are going to be there and displaying their work. I went 2 years ago. It's amazing time. There's some super talented Black artists that are going to be there. Yours truly is going to be among them. So I've got a booth set up. This is all online, by the way. So wherever you're at, I'm going to be up at probably 1 a.m. Japan time, manning my booth, 1 a.m. to 5 a.m. at least one day. I don't know if I can do both days, but yeah, that's going to be rough. But hopefully for you, it's not at an inconvenient time like that. Hopefully it's, normal time and you can show up. I think the tickets, general admission is $12 or $10, I think. Don't quote me. I'll put the link in the show notes so you can purchase tickets and meet me there at VirtuousCon. It'll be nice. Come through. We can talk creativity. We can talk sci-fi, or at least my version of sci-fi, which is probably not very sci-fi, but it whatever. It's sci-fi, and we can talk about whatever else. I can talk. So come by, stop by, and that's all I got. Those two things. Anything else, Ajani, you want to point the people to?
Nope,
that's it. Nothing else. So Ajani's like, look, okay. Well, Ajani don't got anything, so I'm not gonna make him have anything. Thanks for listening to this episode of Two Brothers Talking, y'all. It's been fun. I really hope that you go out there and cultivate your taste, and I don't know, just listen to that voice inside. I feel like I wanted to talk about this more in depth, but since we're closing, I won't go into it too much. But there are so many things and people and circumstances that are telling you what you should do in your life. We all have that. We all have some form of guardianship or parental figures or teachers or friends or society telling you that this is what you should do. This is the path you should walk. But all along, we know what it is that we want. And we probably know how to get it. But we just don't do it. And I used this analogy on a podcast recently of, it's like you're in a pit and all of these things are being piled on top of you, your education, your parents, your cultural values. You don't choose any of that when you're a kid. None of us do. It just gets piled on. Some people spend the rest of their lives digging themselves out, digging their true selves out. Some people never get there. They just go, well, this is good enough. So they don't even bother to try and look for it. But it's difficult to go on that journey to begin the excavation of yourself. But I'm telling you, it's worth it. I'm telling you, on the other side of it. Ask Ajani, like when you are doing things that is not just to collect a paycheck or to appease your parents or, make sure the lights stay on for you and your kids. When you're doing something that's yours, it can feel selfish, but the expansion that you get from that's going to radiate to other people. That's what I've seen in my life. Like, people see me and they see how I just light up when I start talking creativity, when I believe in other people's work, when I see people that are being creative, that are kind of closet creators, or kind of like, I kind of do these little drawings and little sketches, put them up. Like, you don't have to make a business out of it, but just believe it in yourself and to know, like, this is my expression, and follow the advice from the Creative Act. Don't expect much in return, because you may not get it. You may not get the money. You may not get the fame. You may not. A lot of previous artists in their lifetime, they don't get it. I'm not saying, you may not get anything. You probably will get something, but it just may not come in the form that you wanted it in. It may not be all money and fame and notoriety and getting a Netflix adaptation or whatever your goal is. It may just be the act in itself. The Creative Act.
Boom.
There we go. I'll end it there. You guys, everybody, thanks for listening, and we'll see you next time on the next episode. Two Brothers Talking. Peace.
See you.